Alrighty. Looks like we are live. Good to go. What up, what up, what up? Welcome to Hawk Soups Live. I'm your host, Hawk. Hey, Connie, what's good with you? Yeah, it's been a minute. What's up? What's up? Welcome back to Hawk Soups Live, your weekly NBA show, normally happening every Wednesday. This is a special edition happening on Thursday. This works today. And the chat works again. Connie, what's good? Thanks for pulling up to the stream. If you're pulling up on the TikTok, pull up to the YouTube. Link is in the bio, of course. This week we're doing top 10 small forwards. Should be a good time. First things first, though, I got to shout out two things that I want to shout out before we go ahead and get into the stream. We got a new poster. I just wanted to, you know what I mean? I got to flex the new poster. Shout out to MJ, shout out to Kobe. We moved the Naruto one to a different spot of the room. I've been wanting to swap that out for a couple of weeks. I just haven't yet and finally got around to it. We'll see. It's been, honestly, I think it's been probably since the beginning of last season since we had phone lines open on the stream. But this season, I definitely want to bring that back. I want to bring that back to the stream. I thought it was a fun way to interact with y'all. So if you want to call in live and be a part of the experience and be a part of the show, once again, reminder, Hawk Soups Live happens every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on the YouTube channel. As of right now, top 10 small forwards. We got a couple of Damian Lillard, James Harden updates. They ain't really updates. I just have some more thoughts on it. And then I got a couple of things I just want to react to. We got some signings that we just had recently, like JaVale McGee got picked up. Kelly Oubre got picked up. A couple of other people got picked up. I'm trying to think who else got picked up recently. Those two signings we're definitely talking about. Got a couple of clips from TikTok and Twitter and some things that have been trending in the NBA social world that I want to share with y'all. Share my thoughts on, get y'all thoughts on as well. But without further ado, y'all know how we do. We're going to get into this tier list. Now, the small forward, I got to put this disclaimer out there before we get into the small forward tier list. Because the same thing happens. I knew it was going to happen with the shooting guard list. It happened. Everyone's telling me SGA was a point guard, which I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not mad at people telling me SGA is a point guard. Honestly, I'm not even mad if people tell me it's an L list. Like, that's not why I do this. I'm just here I like to share my opinion and, have a conversation with y'all, have a dialogue with y'all. My favorite thing, though, when somebody says it's a bad list or when they say they don't like the list or blah, 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 I usually simply just ask why. What would you change? What's different? Now, the people who share what they would different and what they would do and place different and why, I can rock with those people. I like to have those types of conversations. But, you're going to get the people who just be like L list and not tell you why it's an L list or what they would change. I say all that to say, normally when I go through these lists, when I've done them in years past, I kind of have an idea, at least, of the pool of players across all the positions that I'm going to go through. And because some guys play multiple positions. And then this year, I got to the small forward list and I realized there's a couple of people I would have moved a little differently. We're still going to move forward with the list is as it is. But there are one or two guys I might have moved a little different. And I'll explain that when we get there, specifically talking about the Clippers. I would have done the two Clippers players, PG and Kawhi, a little different than I'm going to end up doing them. I'm not mad at what I did. I just, in hindsight, being 2020, I would have done it a little differently. But I feel like that's everything in life. Almost everything in life you would do differently if hindsight was 2020. You feel me? That's why we say that. All right, let's get into this. We got the tier list right here. Let me go presentation mode. All right. Boom, boom. There we go. I love having the Stream Deck back. I had to do the last couple of streams. We didn't have the Stream Deck. It was a whole lot of yada yada back and forth. Having the actual Stream Deck for stream is like world game changing, bro. All right, so we have, if you don't know, so we have our small forwards right here. This is our pool. Right now we only have 11. A couple of really good honorable mentions that didn't make the list simply because they didn't play enough games. Chris Middleton was a guy I thought about, just didn't make the list because he didn't play enough games. Kyle Kuzma's honestly a guy I thought about. Looking into it more, he probably would more likely be on my power forward list than my small forward list. So that you'll see him potentially next week. Andrew Wiggins is another guy who I thought about, could have been on this list, but he just didn't play enough games for me. And there was someone else who crossed my mind, but simply just didn't play enough games. So if you don't see a guy here, and if you have a guy that comes to mind, drop him in the comments or, let me know. And the reason he's probably not here is either he A, didn't play enough games, or B, I might just have him on a different list. And if you got him on a small forward list, like I said, y'all know me. I'm not tripping. I'm just going to give you my explanation. Good seeing the tier list back. Oh yeah, you know we had to bring back the. Oh, don't tell me it's not working now. It just worked. The comments clicked. It just worked 2 seconds ago. Like it. It adds some extra visuals. And I like the way the tier list be looking. Let me go copy paste. Right. Good seeing the tier. All right. Okay. We good. We good. We back. We got the comments back working like they're supposed to be. Everything looks like it's working. All right. YouTube doing decent. We good. We good. We go ahead and get started. We go ahead and hop right into this. So we're doing top 10 at all. Top 10 small forwards tonight. Let's get into this. So I only have 11 guys here. Previous list, like the small forward, I mean, shooting say that. If he played enough games, Andrew Wiggins would likely be on here. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to get right into it. This list, the small forward list, to me, wasn't as hard as the shooting guard list was. Shooting guard list was really, really tough. I know that power forward list is going to be tough next week. The center list, might be. I'm not sure what the bottom half of that center list is going to look like. 10 people on the list, 1 person out of 11. Pick is cool with me if you want to, but at the 10 slot is where I have Tobias Harris. I thought Tobias Harris had a really, really solid season. Averaged about 14 a game this year. I want to say off the top of my head. Let me pull this up. I got everybody right here. Yeah, averaged about 14 a game this season on some solid efficiency. He did a lot considering he was the fourth, not a lot. He had a good season considering he was the fourth option for a team where a lot of his looks were either catch and shoot, the occasional post up, sometimes the catch and go, but he found the spots. He made it work. He did a lot defensively for the Sixers this year in terms of being one of the outs. If it wasn't a guard, he was the primary wing defender for the Sixers this season. So if you're a big 2 or a 3 or even a mobile 4, Tobias Harris was likely guarding you this season outside of not McDaniels, but shooting guard that we got in the Timberwolves trade. I don't know why his name is slipping my mind right now, but Tobias Harris was a lot of our defense this season. I think he had a really, really good year. As long as we don't put Jimmy over a specific guy, then we okay. I'm dead. We gonna see how we get here. RJ, what's good with you, my guy? I feel like I ain't seen that name in a minute. Thanks for pulling to the stream. All right, at the number 9, and we're gonna move not quickly, but fairly quickly because I really do want to get some time to open up these phone lines if y'all want to call in, just to give y'all the opportunity. And I want to get to some other stuff. So this tier list might move a little faster than they have these past couple of weeks. Oh, you got uni? Look, I ain't mad at that. I ain't mad at that at all. I remember them uni days. I ain't mad at that at all. When I was in college, I wasn't doing as much on the internet as I am now. So I completely get that. You know what I mean? Do your stuff. Jimmy, the best 3 in the league right now. You gotta give him props. Ooh, y'all go. We did that these top couple might get real nasty then if we already talking about Jimmy and Tatum. Because I don't think y'all gonna like where I got either of them. I ain't gonna hold you. At number 9, this was not controversial, but I think I went back and forth with this one on a long time. Part of it is because outside of maybe the beginning of the season, I didn't watch a ton of this guy, so I had to do a decent amount of research to really think about where I wanted to put him, watch some film on him, mainly just some highlights on YouTube, like, watch some of his best games this season. But at number 9, because of what he does on all facets of the basketball court, at number 9 is where I have Franz Wagner. Now, I was skeptical myself when I put him on here. So if you're skeptical, I get that. I'm not mad at it. Because I'm like, this guy's in his second year. How much are we really watching the Magic? Like, is it good stats, bad team? Like, those are some of the things that I'm thinking of. But I'm like, well, let's talk about what he really do. He's a good, second or third ball handler for that team. Can score with the ball, can score without the ball. He's a solid defender for the Magic. I think that side of the ball is not slept on him, but maybe I'll say I slept on it during the season. But when I really looked at him and was watching him, I'm like, solid defender. I like his game a lot. I think he has a really decent ceiling for the Magic. I'm curious to see what they do moving forward. They got a lot. Number 8 is where I have the best defender on if you're an advanced analytics guy, if you're a guy who be really looking at the box score numbers, if you go to B-Ball Index and pull up one of their, plot chart things, every advanced stat, every stat is going to tell you Jaden McDaniels is the best defender in the league when it comes to perimeter, especially amongst wing defenders. But the beautiful thing about Jaden McDaniels that also backs that up is the eye test. When you watch Timberwolves games, he's always guarding the best player on the other team, and he's giving them a really tough time to score a bucket. And he's not a bad shooter either. Almost 40% from three on 4.5 attempts. I think the next step for him in terms of just making himself and his team better is the one, maybe. Oh, excuse me. It's the one, maybe take a couple more shots. But two, just trying to, keep moving off the ball, doing more offensively. But he does so much for this team on the defensive side of the ball. I won't necessarily call him just a defensive specialist because he does shoot the lights out. But he is a defensive specialist, and he had to make this list for me. At number 7, who do we have at number 7? Number 7 is where we have OG Anunoby. Now, the rest of these guys, when we get into this, it's a lot of two-way play. I think when it comes to be a small forward, at least to be considered an elite small forward in this league, you have to be an elite two-way guy. Like, you have to be able to play defense because if you're not guarding one of the other best small forwards in the league, you're either guarding a guard, you're guarding a power forward. Like, there's just a lot of good perimeter players in the league, and the small forward position is leaned heavily on being able to play both sides of the ball. And OG is a great example of that. He does a great job of getting in passing lanes. Does a great job of just pestering guards, creating a lot of turnovers for this Toronto Raptors team. Getting on. Oh, Mikal's definitely about to be over OG. I ain't gonna hold you, Sleazy. I'm not gonna lie. If you have Mikal or OG, I can't get with that. I'm not mad at that, but I'll explain why in a second. I think the only thing for me that holds OG back, and it's not necessarily something that holds him back, to me at least, his game's not as polished as some of the guys ahead of him. I think his defense is excellent. I think his athleticism is excellent. He gets to the basket wonderfully. Like, he does a really, really, really good job of getting to the basket and scoring in the paint. Picking his drive and kick game is solid. Not as good as a shooter as I think I would like him to be. His mid-range game really ain't there like that. But I don't think that's what the Raptors ask him to do, and that's not what his role is on this team right now. I think they would love for him to step more into that role, and I think part of that is why this past year and a half, to me at least, the Raptors have been in this muddy situation of trying to really figure out what they want to do, what their offense looks like. We'll see what they look like this year. They got a new head coach, new point guard. There was just a couple of weird years after their championship run. I ain't gonna hold you. After the championship run, Kawhi left, and it got a little muddy, in my opinion, there. OG's really, really good. Don't get me wrong. OG's really, really good. He's just number 7 on my list. And right above OG, Sleazy, that's why I'm I can't be mad at you if you want him over. At number 6 is where I got Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges, and this ain't even just based on his Brooklyn's time span. Because you gotta remember, even when he was with before he got traded, when he was still on the Suns, there was a good stretch where both Chris Paul and either Chris Paul or Booker was out. And it was Mikal doing a lot, already starting to show a lot more to that, being able to dribble with the ball, score with the ball, some of that mid-range game, being a shot creator, not just a cutter guy on the Suns. But once he got traded to the Nets, we saw a whole new player. And I loved the version of Mikal that we saw once he was a Brooklyn Net. And I think he's going to have a solid. My lists, I think I need to preface this because I do a lot of, when I talk about these guys, I'm basing it off of last year's regular season. I usually say this in the beginning, but I forgot. So I based these off of last year's regular season. But as I'm talking about guys, I get into projection world and what I want to see for them moving forward. But this isn't necessarily a projection list. This is based on what they did. This is just how I look at it based on what they did. Earlier I said all these guys, all the small forwards have to be two-way guys. To be a top 10 small forward in this league, for the most part, you got to be a really, really good two-way guy. Unless you're DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan had a really, really solid year. Still averaged 24 points, 24, 4, and 5. He's just really a bucket getter. I don't know how else to explain it. DeMar is I really wrote down oddly refreshing to watch. Now, watching the Bulls game ain't the most exciting thing in the world. The Bulls aren't necessarily a great team to watch, but watching DeMar is different in the sense that it's all mid-range game. It's all mid-range. It's all getting to the basket. He's not shooting threes. DeMar, you shot 1 3 this game and you missed it. It's really interesting to me how much DeMar don't shoot. But to me, the reason he's over the other 4, 5 guys below him his offensive game is better than them. To me, his offensive game is that much better than the rest of these guys, so it solidifies him here. He has the ability to be a number one option on the team and still lead them to. DeMar's still really, really good in my mind. Mid-range game is unstoppable. One of the better mid-range jumpers in the league. Like when you talk about mid-range jumpers, the ability to score, he slowed down what he was in years past, especially when he first got to the Bulls, in terms of like a fourth quarter closer. We haven't seen that level of closing that we saw when he first got to the Bulls, but he's still able to close out games, still able to hit big shots for the Bulls. DeMar DeRozan's at 5 for me. This is where I guess I'll break down my honorable mention, because if it's not obvious by now, Michael Porter Jr. is my honorable mention because he's not top 4 to me. I really wanted Michael Porter Jr. to make my list, and I want to take this time to give him a shout out. I wanted him to make my list so bad. The only reason he didn't make my list, and he would have been in like this 8 to 10 area, I ain't gonna hold you. He's so special. He doesn't let defense deter his shot. Like if he catch that ball, he's letting it fly. If he catches a ball on the 3-point line from Jokic or Jamal Murray, he's letting it fly. His shot is textbook. He has the ability to shoot over defenders because he's taller. He shoots at an extremely high clip. I want to say it was like 41% this year on 7 attempts a game. But he doesn't really do much else. Like he's not a guy who's going to put the ball on the floor and get to the basket. He's not a guy who's going to put it on the floor and have a mid-range pull-up. He's not a great defender really at all. Like they hide him a lot on the defensive end of the ball. The Nuggets don't put him on elite perimeter guys. And I think that might be just like a mental thing for him, or he just has to continue to develop, because to me, in my mind, he has a great frame to be a excellent defender in the league. He has the speed, he has the athleticism. So he just has to work on either the defensive skill of, knowing where to be, working on sliding his feet, just having the mindset of being a better defender, or on the other side of the ball, just doing a little more offensively. I think he has potential to be able to, and not too much, because yes, Jokic is the offensive hub. Jokic gonna get doubled, and Michael Porter Jr. gonna be wide open for 3. So why do I have to put the ball on the floor to do something else? But I would love to see him develop a little bit more of a post game, because he's he has that size, be able to put the ball on for a little bit more, just to give the Nuggets some more options for those stretches when Jokic isn't on the floor. But he's my honorable mention. I love his game. He didn't make my top 10 list. Well, what's good with you, my guy? Thanks for pulling up. OG has had very little statistical improvement. I'm not mad at that. Nah, it's not. That's what I was saying. That's why I was explaining. It's not necessarily the breakout in Brooklyn. The breakout in Brooklyn helped, I will say, but he definitely would have been my top 10 just off the trajectory that he was having with the Suns. He was having a very, very good season with the Suns this year. If MPJ had a better finals performance, I wouldn't be mad at that spot. I get that. Wait, if you're saying if he had a better finals performance, you wouldn't be mad at him being 11? Because technically he's 11 for me. Technically he's 11 for me. But not all the times, and I say this every week, but there's always some guy who breaks this rule. I try not to put playoff performance, unless it's like astounding, have it weigh that heavily on my decisions of where to put people. Let's see. At number 4, that's where I have my guy PG. Still an elite 2-way guy, still a great shooter. Mid-range game is there, can get to the basket. One of the smoothest dudes in the league in terms of the offensive side of the ball. The defense isn't, in my opinion, isn't what it was 2, 3, 4 years ago. Part of that is age, part of that's injury, part of that is he only played like 50-something games. So, not that you can't get in the rhythm defensively, but in my head, I'm like, sometimes I feel like when I watch Paul George, like, okay, you didn't play yesterday, you playing today. You just look like you're moving a little bit slower, not necessarily taking it easy, but not going 110% all the time. So to me, the defense ain't what it used to be, but I still, in terms of like 2-way, like elite 2-way play, he's one of the best of the league, because he truly is, in my mind, still elite on both sides of the ball when he wants to be and when he's in a rhythm. But he only played like 50-something games this season. Where we at on time? All right, 22. What is it? 8:30. All right, that's good. That's good because then we'll finish this up, go through a couple more stuff. All right. We're moving. Bi is an excellent one to talk about too. He's one of them other guys. Let me look it up because I'm pretty sure I didn't write it down, but I'm pretty sure when I looked him up before, he didn't make my list because he only played 45 games. So RJ, he probably would have been on my list. But when you only play 45 games, I try to shoot for 50. Like I try to shoot for at least 50 games. He just missed it. Years prior, I did half the season. But this season I've tried to do like the 50 game cutoff was where I did a lot of people. All right, so I just his perfect list so far. I put Brian next. We're gonna do this a little out of order. Well, not necessarily. At the 2 and 3, I went back and forth for a while. Number one, I feel like we all know where I'm going. Number one, best small forward in the league, in my opinion, this season was Jayson Tatum. I'm gonna put Jayson Tatum number one. Had an excellent season this year. Like, I mean, could do no wrong, but like really elite on both sides of the ball. Hit a lot of big shots for the Celtics down the stretch of games. I witnessed it firsthand in game 6 of that second round series where he went crazy in the fourth quarter against my Sixers. Like, but he did. My point is, he did game 6, but he did that all season long. He had an absolutely excellent season. In my mind, best small forward in the league. Two-way play was there. Not as the only thing I keep wanting more from Jayson Tatum, and we'll see if we get that this year with Marcus Smart leaving and Malcolm Brogdon and Derek White having to figure out the point guard position now. I wanted him to be more of a playmaker. And I think this is a want that I don't know if I'm going to see it happen. Like, I don't know if he's going to turn into this playmaker that I want him to be. He was at 4.5 assists this year. Like, he was at like 4 last year. I would love to see him get to like 6. And those 2, you'd be like, okay, Hawk, 2 more assists. Like, what is that? What does that even do? But to me, that those 2 assists would show more of a willingness to pass and a better ability to make the right passes. Yeah, it's on your teammates to make the shots and stuff, but I think to me, he had the best regular season for a small forward. No, Jayson Tatum was killing this year, bro. Tatum was, I would have felt wrong putting anybody above him in terms of just small forwards for regular season. I would have felt wrong for putting anybody else above him. I have my 2 and 3 written down. I'm re-looking over my notes one last time before I fully commit to this decision, because what I want to do feels different than maybe what I should. There's only a few guys. Yes, this is regular season. I base this on regular season. I'll usually sometimes maybe mention somebody's playoffs, but I'm basing this, yes, essentially on regular season. 64 games. I want to see how much these 2 guys played before I make my decision of where I want to put these next couple of people. I say it's regular season, but I want to do something based on playoff performance, because I really want to put low key, you ain't lying, RJ. All right, so LeBron James and Jimmy Butler, I'm not gonna hold you. I'm split on. I am. I wanted to let some of my postseason bias seep in here and give Jimmy a nod. But Jimmy really don't be taking the regular season sit. Not that he don't take it serious. Jimmy just really elevates his game so much in the playoffs that you can say I'm hating on Jimmy. I don't think one position is like hate or ODing and doing too much. But Jimmy Butler had a phenomenal regular season. We know what he is. We know what he can do. That Miami Heat team is one of those teams that I didn't even bother this year. They still end up going to the NBA Finals. And me and my boys, I got a couple boys who are Heat fans. We in the group chat like, yo, they haven't done anything. They lost Vincent. Like they lost they lost Vincent. And obviously because they're waiting on a potential Damian Lillard trade, this, that, and the third. And we're like, yo, if they don't get Dame, what are they going to do? They just figure it out. And part of that reason that they just figure it out is Jimmy Butler, because Jimmy Butler just gets it done for them. They have a really, really good team. Jimmy Butler is one of those guys, low-key similar to DeMar DeRozan. He not going to take a lot of threes. And he took 3 this year. He was at 35%, just barely above league average. But he's going to get to the basket. He's going to get fouled a lot. He's going to operate in that mid-range game. He's going to bully you in the post, especially bullying smaller guards that get switched on him. He has the speed to go by bigger defenders. Jimmy Butler is an excellent, excellent basketball player. And when he turns it on, he's on. And I left LeBron James at number 2 because although LeBron James struggled with a lot of injury this season, only played him and Jimmy low-key didn't play a ton of games this year. Jimmy played 64 games. LeBron played 55. So LeBron was in and out of the lineup due to injury. I think the last couple of weeks of the season going into the playoffs, he had I'll say less than stellar, not less than stellar, but less than expected performance. I think his foot was still bothering him a little bit. A little slower on the defensive end of the ball, but he's still a great floor general. He still can score whenever he wants to score. And I wouldn't say he's a bad defender. I just think he's not as good as the defender he's been in years past. You didn't think I'd put JT at 1, Sleaze? Hey, perfect list. I'll take that. I ain't never heard nobody say perfect list. I mean, it's rare that somebody says perfect list. I'll take that, though. Bron at 1 or Jimmy at 1? Because out of those 3, I only can see one of those 3 being number 1 in my mind. But this is my top 10 small forwards from the 2022-2023 regular season. Jason Tatum at 1, LeBron James at 2, Jimmy Butler at 3, Paul George at 4, DeMar DeRozan, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Jaden McDaniels, Franz Wagner, and then Tobias Harris. You beat OG over Mikal. I'm not mad at that. You was going to put Bron, Jimmy, and then JT? Oh, nah. I mean, I say, oh, nah, but if I saw that list, I wouldn't. Nah, I can't. I was about to say, I can't say I wouldn't be mad at that if I saw that list. I truly think Jason Tatum had the best season of small forwards this year. Like, Jason Tatum was phenomenal this year. If people swap Jimmy, like, I was going back and forth a lot between Jimmy and Bron. My first draft of this list, I think I had Jimmy at 2 and Bron at 3, but part of that was because of how good Jimmy was during the playoffs. And because Jimmy's ranking, even Jimmy at 3, a lot of it is because of the playoffs. I ain't gonna hold you. A lot of that is because of the playoffs. So because I was split so much between Bron and Jimmy, I gave Bron the nod at 2 and 3, just because Jimmy was already getting a lot of love from the playoff performance. Because if we really was going strictly regular season, I can't tell you Jimmy would be 3. I'd probably have Paul George over him, and then I'm looking at Jimmy and DeMar, and then I'll probably keep Jimmy over DeMar. So Jimmy might be 4 if I'm doing just regular season. Continuing on, let me pull up my notes. Boop. So we're doing a couple of things today. A couple more things I want to talk about before we got out of here. We know, right? It's still, I was telling my wife earlier today, I'm like, I really wanted to get on stream. I was happy, I'm always happy to rock with y'all, be on stream with y'all. But it also in the back of my mind, I was telling her, I was like, after I do this ranking, I ain't got, like, what is there to talk about in the NBA? I do have a couple of things that are on my mind. Like, when I really think about it, I'm like, yeah, I can think of plenty of stuff that interests me about the NBA. I don't know if it's necessarily talking points in terms of you think Jason Tatum lost to a better 3 in the terms of the playoffs? I'm not mad at that, RJ. Oh, sleazy. Come on now. You gotta get that algorithm going, you feel me? Dame on his BS again. They could possibly get it traded tomorrow or Saturday. Let's talk about that first, right? So I didn't hear this. I did hear. Who tweeted it out? Somebody tweeted that the Blazers in the process of ramping back. He made the trade request. I knew if it didn't happen by the end of July, it probably was not going to happen in August because people just be on vacation. Like, GMs is regular folk. They gonna take vacations. But now that we're back full swing, we're in September. The first preseason game is NBA preseason. Like if you go to NBA.com, they actually have the first preseason game on their top billing, John. Already. First preseason game is October 5th, which is close. 2 weeks from now? 2, 3? Where's my calendar? My point here is, yes, I'm not surprised that Damian Lillard conversations are starting back up again. Preseason starts in like 2-ish weeks. Training camp's going to start back up soon. Media day, I think, is sometime next week, within like the next couple of days. So it makes sense to me that it's like, it's definitely getting stale, sleazy. It makes sense to me that the conversations are starting back up with Dame and what they're going to do moving forward. One thing that I thought was interesting, which was from Chauncey. Let me pull this up. Chauncey Billups had an interview he did like a Q&A with NBA.com. Steve Ashburner. Let me pull this up. Q&A Chauncey Billups of where he's standing entering season 3 with the Blazers. The whole article is actually pretty decent. Like, I would suggest reading it. Like I said, you really got to be an NBA nerd to be reading articles, but I'd be liking them. So he asked him this: your team is waiting for a mighty big shoe to drop with Damian Lillard's status still unresolved. That can't be ideal. How does it not become negative or distraction? Yeah. Obviously, it's unsettling. It's difficult. But for me, all I can do, I'm responsible for giving my best to who we have. I don't know how it's going to play out. There are things, there's nothing I can do to control it, but I do know we have on our team right. Good Lord. Come on, dyslexia. But I do know who we have on our team right now and I've been working with this summer, who I'm excited about. All I can really do is pour myself into our guys. And I see what happens whenever that happens. I'm excited about Shaedon's progress and coaching Scoot and Ant. Figuring out what happens with Dame. Everybody knows how I feel about Dame and my opportunity to coach him. We'll just see. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'll be ready to do the best I can. What's what you want to hear from your coach. Good Lord. Hopefully I read this next one better. Saw a lot of reports. Majority of the fans support Joe Cronin's commitment to getting the best return possible for Lillard trade. He says, look, we got incredible fans. Everybody in the NBA knows NBA fans have the best. Everybody in the NBA knows we have the best. Good gosh. Everybody in the NBA knows we have a fan base that is top notch. The truth of the matter is, no matter what, there's still going to be Dame fans, which is facts. 100% our fan base will be Dame fans. It doesn't matter where he's playing, but they're also going to be Trailblazer fans. Then any sense that Lillard lobbying publicly for a trade and where he prefers to go could drain the goodwill he's built up here. And then he says, Dame's been incredible. He says it's been all negative. He's basically saying stand-up guy, professional whole way through. It's business at hand. I don't think there's pressure on either side. The main piece I thought was the most interesting, and I'm low-key tied into the James Harden situation. We'll talk about both of them at the same time, is as this drags on, though, would it be hard for him or the circumstances to not hurt your team? As it drags on, though, would it be hard for him or the circumstances to not hurt your team situations? I'm not sure. Dame is one of the most stable human beings I've ever been around. He's not about any type of drama. So this whole process probably weighs very heavy on him. It's just not who he is. But he's at a crossroads in his career, and he's doing what he feels best for him and his family. I'm always going to be supportive of that. So a lot of the stuff... You up to date with the Buddy Hield mess? Yeah, we'll talk about him too. A lot of the stuff when it comes to Dame, I think, they're saying they're ramping up conversations again. We heard rumors a couple of weeks ago that it was like, well, Dame's not suiting up for training camp unless it's the Blazers or Miami Heat. It's still like a just wait and see situation. The one thing I'm the most interested to see, because Dame's situation is a little bit different than Harden's in terms of at least the rumors and reports make it seem like James Harden ain't even going to show up to Sixers training camp or doesn't want to show up at Sixers training camp. But Harden's situation is different from Dame's because, as we all know, Harden's in the last year of his deal. Dame still has years left. So if Harden doesn't show up, the Sixers can just make it so he can't sign with anybody else. Stuff we've already talked about, right? So part of the Harden conversation amongst other Sixers fans is, well, if Harden does show up, what version are we going to get of Harden? Because we've seen Harden put on a fat suit and watch, a ball bounce, throw a terrible bounce pass and watch it go out of bounds, or let a defender run past him, steal the ball from him, and lay it up on the other end. We saw them last couple of weeks in Houston. We know how bad Harden can be to force his way out. We haven't necessarily seen that from Dame yet. Dame's also not in the same situation. The same rules don't apply. If he doesn't show up, he still won't get paid. Like the Blazers can still hold his money, very similar to what the Sixers did to Ben Simmons, and Ben eventually got some of that money back, but not all of it. But Dame's not in the same situation as Harden in terms of, if you don't show up, might not play again in the NBA. So I think the piece I'm the most curious about is, if he doesn't get traded before the season starts or before training camp, does he still participate in? I'm up to date on the Buddy Boston. I can't remember if the report was they couldn't agree on an extension, or they just didn't offer him an extension. All right, this is from The Athletic, because I want to see what they're talking about here. Also, yes, if you want to call in, feel free to 609-453-3281. You can join the conversation to talk about what we talk about now, or you can shift it into a whole different direction. I want to see how it go. We ain't done calls in a year. I ain't gonna hold you, so I just want to see how it go. But I will leave that up on the screen. Pacers Buddy Hield have begun talks to find potential trade. After contract extension negotiations stalled out, Buddy Hield and the Pacers have started a dialogue to find a potential trade with another team. I'm curious if they have weeks. Hield was a part of the Halliburton trade. All right, so no, they don't have any potential trades listed. I think so. Buddy Hield for me. Buddy Hield for me. I did just realize I didn't have. I was reading the Athletic article. I thought I pulled up to share the screen with y'all. I didn't. Money unlocking their roster, which I understand, but in the same breath, Buddy Hield to me is worth a lot of money. This past season, he shot, oh my goodness, 42% from three this past season on over 6 or 7 attempts a game, which is only like one of 8 people to do that this year. He's an elite shooter, like an elite shooter. Sleazy says, watching Brad send Malcolm Brogdon back to Indiana for Buddy Hield and Daniel Theis. Woof. I wouldn't be mad at that for y'all. I think y'all need Malcolm Brogdon because y'all need some solid point guard play. I love Buddy Hield, but he's a shooter, not necessarily like a creator. He's a shooter more than he is a creator, especially like a creator for others. That is crazy though, that I can see teams really trying to make a nice trade for Buddy Hield. I don't know who that would be at the top of my head, but I like if Buddy Hield magically ended up on, dang, you know who could use Buddy? Can we agree to some sort of extension as well? Because you're not going to give a whole lot up for Buddy Hield for just a year rental, unless you're a team that thinks Buddy Hield's your missing piece to get over the hump. And I'm not saying he can't be that, but I wouldn't consider Buddy Hield like if I don't think Buddy Hield's the piece that's going to make you a championship team, but he could be the piece that helps a team that's already almost there. But you're going to want to lock him in. That's tough. I don't know what I would do with Buddy Hield. That is tough. You just have to make sure you would lock him in beforehand. I forgot about that. Good look, Sleazy. I forgot he moved over and signed there. Last 2 things before we get up out of here. We have 45-minute mark and I'm running out of items because, like you said, Sleazy, it is stale. I'm really hoping next week is better because let me see what Media Day is. NBA Media Day. Sleazy is saying he wants to trade Malcolm Brogdon. And Malcolm Brogdon trade would surprise me a lot, only because, like I said earlier, without Smart, I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in your point guard play. And Malcolm Brogdon, even understand would even feel some type of way being there. I get it's a business, but he gonna feel some type of way because y'all tried to trade him. Y'all wanted to trade him. So I would feel some type of way. Yeah, it's a business. We know this, but we're still humans. He's going to feel some type of way. So I wouldn't be surprised if he, not that he plays bad, it's just he going to feel some type of way. It might be a little awkward. I don't have a better explanation. It's just he going to feel some type of way. Just realized I forgot to turn my lights on. Media day for example, is on set to take place October 2nd, which is once again like a week and a half from now. So we'll see a lot more stuff in the next couple of days. I'm not mad at it. We'll see more stuff in the next couple of days. Kelly Oubre got signed to the 76ers for a 1-year vet minimum. I like the pickup. I like and don't like the pickup. I think Kelly Oubre is he had a really, really good scoring season last year with the Hornets. Averaged 20 a game for the first time in his career. I want to say it was the first time in his career, if I'm not mistaken. This past season with the Hornets, he averaged 20 a game for the first time in his career on not great shooting. 43% from the field, 31% from three on 7 attempts a game, with the potential of James Harden leaving. I'm not going as far as saying, I'm not going as far as saying that Kelly Oubre would be the replacement for James Harden, but I see where he's coming from in terms of him adding more to the Sixers in terms of just scoring some stuff scoring off the bench. If he doesn't take as many shots as he has or what he's used to, I'm curious to see how well he adjusts to this role. I don't think he'd be in the starting lineup. I think he'd be great as a 6-7 man, a rotation guy, because he doesn't really have two-way play. I mean, if Harden's not there, he might have to be in the starting lineup, but I think who's used to taking 12, 10, 15 shots a game. I don't know if he's going to have that opportunity with this Sixers team. I'm just curious to see how well he adjusts. Kelly and who else signed? Kelly Oubre to the Sixers, and JaVale McGee to the Kings. Now, the JaVale pickup I like a lot. I think that's great for the Kings. One of the things that the Kings struggled with, especially in the playoffs last year, it's not 100% on Sabonis. A lot of people are saying Sabonis got bullied by Kevon Looney. While you look on paper and you watch the games, yeah, sure, he was getting bullied. Some truth that they, in my opinion, needed some more depth at that center position, and JaVale McGee's a really, really good backup. Once again, a good pick and roll guy to run around, to set screens for De'Aaron Fox, set a lot of screens for the rest of the shooters they have on team. Kevin Huerter running off of JaVale screens. I think he's going to be a really good guy for them. He's getting older. He's not the guy he was when he was on the Warriors, in my opinion. His athleticism is dwindling a little bit, but he's still really solid. Suns Geek, what's good with you, my guy? Thanks for pulling up. It's funny, Suns Geek. This was planning on being a quicker stream, and so we go slow right now. There's just not as much to talk about as I would like to. And I'll see y'all next week, next Wednesday, 8 p.m. And I'll catch you in the next one. I'm out. Peace. Boop. Boop. Not terrible. Later, TikTok.